Hello again. This is the second in the series of videos I'm creating on home self-care techniques. And these are techniques I've taught in my office for years. In my myofascial release practice, they're always with myofascial release concepts in mind. And they're designed so that if you're seeing me on a regular basis, these will improve the work that we do together, improve the positive change in terms of how fast you're going to start to see change, and maintain on your own some of the positive changes that we've been able to realize through myofascial release technique with you. And today we're going to stay with the upper body, and we're going to do a technique that gets involved starting in the hands, works its way through the wrist, the forearm, elbow, through the upper arm, shoulder, into the neck. This technique is good for carpal tunnel syndrome, it's good for tennis elbows, and anything that would be difficult along these lines. And frankly, the last one where you use the arm under your thigh as an anchor and stretch that way also will treat most of those. But this really gets into the forearm and the when you have carpal tunnel issues. I do this one all the time. I have to, not only just because of the work that I do, but back in 1995, when I got rear-ended by a tractor trailer, I was holding on to the steering wheel. I jammed mostly my left shoulder in like that, and I was diagnosed with what they call thoracic outlet syndrome, basically carpal tunnel of the shoulder. So all the nerves that were going down to my whole arm were severely traumatized, and for a long time it was just pain and numbness and tingling and loss of use. All the things that you would associate with carpal tunnel, but I had them going down my whole arm. And frankly, I wasn't offered much hope for improvement by a lot of the medical professionals. And this technique has kept me going for a long time. So this technique, we're going to use our hands together like this, and we want to have traction here. We want to be able to have some grip. So I recommend using, this is, just a basic hand sanitizer with aloe. You can use something else, but the reason why I like this is it evaporates quickly and leaves the skin, with some grip to it. If you have another hand cleaner or something that you prefer over these hand sanitizers, I know there's some issues about them for some people, that's fine. But a lotion that leaves you lubricated is not what we want. We want grip. We don't want slide. Okay? So that's the issue with this. So I'm going to put a little of this on. And we're going to show you the technique. Again, the idea is just to get this to evaporate and leave the hands a little sticky. I've seen some people use other substances for this, whatever works for you. So for this hand here, my left hand, is going to be the patient, and this hand's going to be the doctor, so to speak. So I'm going to tuck my elbow into my torso, and I'm going to bring the other hand on top of the patient hand, and I'm going to press down. Now I'm not pressing down with a lot of force. Remember, myofascial release concept, easy in, feel for the resistance barrier, this line of resistance. You know it when you feel it. It feels like you kind of hit the edge of a wall maybe, and then you stay there for some time, keeping the pressure just enough to stay at the edge, and then when you're done, you come back gently. So that's going to be true for all the exercises we're going to do. In this case, our elbow is tucked in, hand on top of the other hand, and what I want you to do is get a feeling of melding these hands together. The top hand melds into the bottom hand. So give that a moment. You might want to take 10, 15, even up as much as 30 seconds to get into that position where you feel these two are molded. You don't want to have it up like this. You can see that you've got too much space. You want to lay them skin against skin as close as possible and relax. Remember, always relax into these techniques. So relax the hands. You're pushing down but gently. But first, you're just getting these two hands to meld. Give it some time. You're bringing some pressure down on this part of the hand. pushing down like this. Okay, but that's not the major thrust. This one can be a little complicated because you're going to be doing a few things at once. The first thing, meld. Now, once you've given it some time to meld, and you are pressing down a little bit, not too much, you're going to traction out without sliding. So once you've melded, you're aiming the top hand out without sliding, hence the reason why you needed the grip skin to skin rather than slippery skin to skin. Again, always gentle. And you do this and you just keep the tension going straight out towards the tips of the fingers, and at the same time you are pressing down, but not too forcefully. And you're going to give this time. Don't force, don't rush it. Gentle, steady pressure. Feel the extension as if you're trying to slide out, but you're gripping, so you're just aiming. You're not moving. Your top hand is not sliding off. And you are pushing down, but not too forcefully. Now, if you feel too much compaction in the wrist of the patient hand, ease up a little bit. But keep that outward push, that extension. As you do this, you'll feel it in the wrist. It'll go down as time goes on. If you give this enough time, into your elbow, it'll go up into the arm, into the shoulder, and into the neck. You want to go for 3 to 5 minutes. If you can get to the 5 minutes, very important. The longer you go with this, the better off you're going to be. Now, we're not going to stay here and just have you look at me waiting for the stretch and the release. So we're going to say we've done our 5 minutes. When you decide to be done, no matter what time it is, if it's a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you always come back the way you came. So you're going to release the pressure this way, you're going to release the pressure back this direction, and you're going to let this hand gently come out. Now in this case, because we've put a lot of pressure on the outside of the wrist by compacting it this way for a good several minutes, what I want you to do is to grab here. Now can you see how my hands, I'm taking the fingers and the thumb, I'm just kind of grabbing, I'm not squeezing, I'm just getting this. I'm going to use the extension of my hand to grip a bit, just to give this some gentle traction outward. We're tractioning the opposite direction. Those of you who do yoga will recognize, you do a pose opposite, like you'll do child's pose to loosen things up because you've been bending one way, you bend the other way. So in this case, you're just going to do a little light tension. You don't have to do this as long, although you can. Now doing this, I can feel this go up into my elbow and into my shoulder. So you can use this as a technique if you want, but the problem is you're holding yourself up. But really you're focusing just to get this part of the wrist. Okay, so we'll review really quickly. Elbow locks into the torso. This is the patient, this is the doctor. You kind of lean in a little bit, you're pressing down, not too forcefully. You want to have some grip. You want to give this hand-to-hand contact a moment so that you can feel the melding as if the tissues are becoming one. And if that sounds weird to you, just give it a minute. Let them relax. Let the two hands relax into each other. Then the top hand, the doctor hand, while keeping some pressure down, is going to extend out without sliding, gently, until you feel like you hit the resistance barrier, the edge where it feels like you've hit a wall, so to speak, figuratively. And then you're going to hold this for 3 to 5 minutes, even longer, however long you've held it. And please don't worry about it if you don't get the 5 minutes right away. Practice. Give yourself some time to get used to this. But if you can get into that 5-minute range, you're going to see better results. It's really important that you not force. Really important. If you're putting too much pressure down, you're going to be hurting yourself, If you're trying too hard to get out there, you'll slide. You notice how you slide. Always relax. Relax into it. Feel how you can accomplish more by relaxing, easing into the fascial tissue, following the technique I've laid out. And then when you're done, gently relaxing still, come back the way you came. Let this arm relax, let this wrist relax, shake it off. And there you have another technique for the upper body, neck, shoulder, tennis elbow, carpal tunnel, and anything that's uncomfortable in that whole area. We'll see you again next time with another technique.